The NBA right now is full with a bunch of young talent. And when you look at a team like the Houston Rockets, it personifies that philosophy to the extent, I think, more than arguably any other team in the NBA. And one of the players on that team that we're going to talk about in this video is obviously KPJ, Kevin Porter Jr. Because Kevin Porter Jr., now that he's officially moved to the point guard position, due to the fact that John Wall essentially is done in Houston, it really does beg the question, is he the next great point guard in the league? But before we get started with this video, make sure you drop a like and comment your opinions. I would love to know what you guys think about KPJ and how good of a season y'all think he's going to have for the Houston Rockets this upcoming year. I would love to know what you guys think. And do not forget to subscribe to this channel if you are new. I make videos every other day, so damn near daily content will be the norm, especially if you press that bell for post notifications. But without further ado, let's get back to the topic at hand and talk about some KPJ basketball. When KPJ was drafted by the Cleveland Cavaliers, many people looked at him as a raw prospect because coming out of USC, he wasn't really a dynamic player in college like that, even though he definitely showed his flashes, don't get me wrong. But when you watched him in college, you didn't go, oh yeah, that's a future star. You saw the potential to be a star, but you didn't know for sure if it was going to pan out because he wasn't a dynamic scorer in any way, shape, or form. He was a good shooter, but it wasn't anything too special. He wasn't really that great of a defender, even though you saw the capabilities. As a passer, you saw the flashes, but it wasn't anything too special because he didn't have that role either. So on the whole, his time at USC was definitely good enough for him to be a first round pick, but the potential was just not high enough to where you could justify him going any higher than where he landed in the draft. And then you move on to his rookie season, and obviously he proved to be a humongous steal for the Cleveland Cavaliers, falling that low in the first round. As in the second half of his rookie season, when he started getting more minutes consistently, he averaged 13 points, 2 assists, 3 rebounds, but he shot 45% from the field, 34% from behind the arc, and 73% at the free throw line. And honestly, those numbers may sound mid, but considering he was a rookie and he was somebody that was drafted after the lottery, that's a huge deal. Like, those are solid numbers for a rookie player at that position. And considering that he's sharing the ball with Colin Sexton, Darius Garland, that's also something that you have to consider and put context to. And if you had just saw him play during his time in Cleveland, you could just see the potential in the tape itself. He had nice handles to be able to create his own shot consistently, or at least more consistently than you thought coming into that season. And also as a passer, you could definitely see the potential as well as a playmaker because he has some really nice dimes. The guy really has a feel for the game that allows him to play make really well, whether it's in half court or in the transition. And when you watched everything and bumble it all up with his handle, the shot creation, it just looked really smooth. I'm telling you, it's something about those left-handed players that separates them from the pack, you know what I'm saying? But unfortunately, his time in Cleveland was cut short to only 50 games in his rookie season, and he would never see the court for the Cleveland Cavaliers in a jersey ever again. Because one of the things that followed Kevin Porter Jr. from high school to college and obviously now in the NBA was his attitude, as many people looked at him as an off-the-court issue, which led to him being a locker room cancer. Because during the off-season before the 2021 NBA season, Kevin Porter Jr. was dealing with a weapons charge, which led to him starting off the season inactive. And before that situation even took place, there were already on heated rocks in terms of him in the front office. He was already looked at as somewhat of a locker room cancer before he got into the league, so him getting hit with that weapons charge did not do him any favors. And the fact that the Cavs kept him on the roster and didn't trade him immediately after hearing that or released him, it really went to show and prove that the Cavaliers had a lot of faith and stock in his potential. They wanted things to work out despite all the off the court issues and the things they heard about him coming into the draft, which was kind of already proven right once he got hit with that weapons charge. But unfortunately, on January 18th in 2021, the Cavaliers announced that they were going to either trade or cut KPJ after an outburst regarding a locker room exchange between him and newly acquired Taurean Prince after he was traded from the Brooklyn Nets. Now, I could only imagine what that argument was about, but I assume it had something to do with maybe starters minutes, because because obviously they play somewhat of the same position, but yeah, I would have loved to have been a fly on the wall to know what the hell that argument was about. But just think about it, this is a guy that had really all the potential in the world after a rookie season. Not saying he was going to become a superstar, but you saw the talent and the potential flashes there. They stuck through him throughout all of the weapons charges, and I'm sure that they told him, look, just stay out of trouble and avoid all the issues you can, because if you get in one more situation or outburst, that's too much bad PR for a player like you that hasn't even played a game of your sophomore season due to a weapons charge that you're currently going through. And if not, we're going to have to cut you or trade you. And obviously that's what happened, because on January 21st, 2021, KPJ was traded to the Houston Rockets for a future top 55 protected second round pick. Yes, a future top 55 protected second round pick. What a trash pick that is for the Cleveland Cavaliers, and I'm not even mad at them for their return, because if that's the best they could get, you take it. They said they were going to either trade him or release him, and the fact that they considered releasing him and the fact that they got a second round pick that's top 55 protected further cements the fact that his value was extremely low. So all of you that killed the Cleveland Cavaliers for trading him for a second round pick, please get the information correct. There was a lot of things that went into why they traded him. They tried to work with him. He couldn't stay out of trouble, and obviously it came back to bite them in the ass. But then you move on to his time in Houston this past year, and honestly it isn't that much of a sample size, as he only played 26 games, but in those games you saw the potential as a shot creator. He was a smooth shot creator. You know, those lefties, I keep saying it's something dangerous with them, but then you see the playmaking aspect, because as a playmaker he showed a lot of flashes, and mind you, he's sharing the ball with a guy like John Wall, who is a ball dominant point guard. But in the second half of his sophomore season, that's really when he got in his bag with the Rockets, averaging just short of 18 points and 7 assists, 4 rebounds, shooting 42% from the field, 37% from behind the arc, and 79% at the free throw line. And that stretch also includes a game against the Milwaukee Bucks, the eventual champion Milwaukee Bucks I should say, in which he dropped 50 points along with 11 assists, 5 rebounds, shooting 62% from the field, knocking down 9 3-pointers, which resulted in 60% at the 3-point line and 82% at the free throw line as well. And in that game on April 29th against the Bucks, where he dropped 50 and 11, he became the youngest player in NBA history to have 50 plus points along with 10 plus assists in an NBA game. But that then brings us to where we are now, because with Kevin Porter Jr. even coming out and stating, I am a point guard, and recently it came out that the Rockets are planning to move on from John Wall, as he's not going to play for them this season, and they're going to try to find a trade for him. That then brings into the question, how great is KPJ going to be playing point guard full time for the Houston Rockets, as this time they're not even going to try to tank, I assume, because they could actually be a fun team in the Western Conference with players like Christian Wood, Jalen Green, you have Sengun, and you have some other players that I think can make some noise for this team. They could be a lot better than I think a lot of people anticipate, and a big reason for that is the growth of Kevin Porter Jr. that I am expecting in his third year with this Houston Rockets team. I think the pick and rolls, the pick and pops with him, Sengun, and Christian Wood, they're going to be amazing, because Sengun has a high basketball IQ. He can find Kevin Porter Jr. when he's off the ball. It can be like a knockoff version of that Murray and Jokic two-man game. And even in the pick and rolls, pick and pops with Kevin Porter Jr. and Christian Wood, those are going to be deadly, because Christian Wood can space the floor and he's a pretty good roll man. And you can line C Wood at the 5, because if he plays the stretch 5 and he's on the perimeter, that's a legitimate player that you have to guard. So even if they come off to help, KPJ is a great playmaker. He can find him in the corner, at the top of the 3-point line, wherever he is on the perimeter. And if they don't help off of Christian Wood, that gives KPJ all the room in the world to operate, whether it's in the mid-range game, because he did shoot over 40% from the mid-range last year. And as a side note, I would love to see him get in his bag more in that mid-range area, but it also gives him space to attack the rim as much as he wants. So next year, with players like Jalen Green, Sengun, Christian Wood, Eric Gordon still on the roster, I could see Kevin Porter Jr. going into it and averaging 18-19 points a game, along with 7 to 8 assists on pretty good efficiency, and cementing himself as not only one of the best young players in this league, but also as the next point guard that got next. You know what I'm saying? Because I ain't gonna lie, KPJ, he's nice. I keep saying it over and over. It's something about them lefties, bruh. It's something about them lefties. But you guys let me know your opinions down below in the comment section on KPJ. How great do you think he's going to be next season? And also, what do you think is the ceiling for KPJ, especially on this Houston Rockets team that has a boatload of potential? Do not forget to follow me on social media. The links are down below in the description box. This is your boy Young Mustard signing out. Y'all have a blessed day. Peace.